If that water wet, it's got gators in it.
Oh, yeah? Well, me and the Lord, we got an understanding.
We're on a mission from God.
Because remember, no matter where you go, there you are.
They shouldn't have given you ashy blokes YouTube.
Cursed be the ground for our sake. Both thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for us. For out of the ground we were taken, for the dust we are. And to the dust we shall return.
All right, good people. Punching the clock on Friday. I think I'll do my AMA, my open forum on my Master Teacher's Response channel since it's Friday. And Art, I don't think Art is doing a show tonight, so I think I'll do it over there. So I think maybe 6:30 I'll do it, and I'll put a community post over here, so in case you guys want to come over there. I know it's my troll channel, okay, because I'm trolling my haters, but I'm going to do it over there tonight, you know, if I get a chance. And if I do it, I will give you guys a heads up, and I'll put a link in. I'll post a heads up over here on my community tab. So if you're so inclined, check with my community tab right around 6:30. And I should be doing an AMA, and then, you know, open it up for about an hour or so and see what people got to say, okay? Because some people that are over there that can't get on are blocked over here, okay? Because you guys don't like me, you guys don't like me kicking puppies over here, so I can't kick puppies over here. So I said, okay, let me get a channel, give me a channel where I can actually kick puppies. Yeah, I don't like to hear the puppy squeal when I kick them. Anyhow, Cloud with TJ, just screenshot, share on ChatGPT, give me a lot of information. Yep, it's It's old stuff, okay? So TJ's number 1, okay? Adric is batting second, okay? I'm listening batting third. And the Grab Betty is pulling up a chair, but drive them runs home first, Eddie, before you pull the chair up. There's my Dirty Foot Jose checking in. And Tony Runner, did you agree with the video I did yesterday about love crossing borders and culture and stuff like that? Did you agree with it? Tony Runner says, "Se puede, yes we can." Luther Crawford. Bitcoin still moving sideways. Yeah, it's got uncertainty. Okay, a lot of uncertainty because of the stable coin with China buying gold. Which the thing is, they're trying to see what the yuan's going to do because China started to let the yuan loose. So basically, it's going to now Bitcoin has to compete with the Chinese currency. It's going to be different. Let's put it that way. Kevin, what's going on? Ricky, what's happening? Martin Muhammad. Happy long week. Oh, that's right. It is a long weekend. Okay, I might be doing something on Sunday. We'll see. Because it is a long weekend. Oh, I can't do that. Okay, I can't do it tonight because now I forget. Now I remember. I remember. Rom has this thing tonight. That's right. That's Friday, so I can't do it tonight. Maybe I'll do it Saturday. Shannon Green, what's going on? There's Toya with me, Apple. What's going on? You know I pull locks, right, Toya? Prince, what's going on? TB, what's happening? Adam, what's going on? What's up with the beach? What's up, beaches? What's with the white manosphere so divided? Okay, it's called race. Okay, it's called race, and shout out to the manosphere, but there's a lot of underlying racism that's is in the white manosphere that's not acknowledged. And I would say this, okay, the reason that the IBMORs came over and basically helped reboot the black manosphere is because there's certain picadillos, peculiarities that black men have that white men don't. And you can't talk about it in the broader manosphere as we speak, okay? In the white manosphere, you can't talk about it because you're going to get shut down. And okay, I wasn't driven out, but I was castigated when I started talking about race in the white manosphere. So a lot of people that are in the white manosphere, they exclude race for a reason, okay? So that's where the division is. And the second division is Roller Tomasi when Kevin checked them white women on Fresh and Fit. That wasn't taken very well. I think it's starting to mend now, but race is the biggest reason. I mean, you don't have to ask. Race is the biggest reason, okay? And y'all have to check your you got to check. You have to check the underlying folks that underlying racism in the white manosphere. Okay, if you want black men to come back over there and be part of it, okay? Because I got tired of it myself. I got tired of walking on eggshells. So I came over here where I could actually talk my shit, be with my folks, be with my men, because I didn't come to the manosphere for white men. White men got their own. Okay, I came over here for my guys. That's why I'm here. Okay, that's why I brought this stuff over here. Okay, I can't help it if you guys can't bring your scholars down to the white manosphere and do the same stuff we do over here. It's not my problem. Okay. Now, if they want to come over and talk to me, and we can talk about the hidden 4chan folks that are in the white manosphere, we can. Okay, but y'all have to deal with that. Gundam, what's up? Black Money and Power, what's going on? Palm Beach Mike. Terry Golds, what's going on? Kelvin, what's happening? That pedestrian bullshit. Yes, sir. Paul, what's going on? King Penn, it's been a while. I've caught one live. What's up? Mark Bryant, what's going on? Terrell Boxley, what's happening? Trail, what's going on? Top Notch Rocker, what's going on? Sick Diggy, what's going on? Black Males, I saw a commercial last night. They are looking to make AI and cybersecurity a part of high school requirements. Well, you're going to have to, because you're going to have to learn, even if you don't adhere to it, you're going to have to learn how to use it. It is what it is. Okay, because it's going to be part of your. It's going to every job is going to require some kind of AI um, introduction. Brizzle made it in. Okay, I heard that. Mr. Johnny Mac, what's happening? Dr. Thunder, what's up? I caught some of your show today. Uh, basically, for the most part, I don't know why people think there's a gender war. There's no gender war anymore, man. The environment's taking care of that. Okay. Um, and the only war that we have with the gender war is black women trying to keep us in control. In other words, you got patty rollers after us right now, Dr. Thunder. I have to do a video on black female patty rollers. Okay. Dave Todd, what's up? Adric, what's okay? Barry Hamilton, what's going on? Big Trick, what's up? B-Roll, what's up? JT, Dr. Els, okay. Dr. Els is doing that stuff on Good Guys and Bad Boys, but and the chick that he used, okay, that ghetto chick, man. Dr. Els, you've been a cop. You could tell that woman's class in about 2 minutes of her talking, okay. That's a ghetto chick, man. Talking about bad boys. Okay, she talking about dudes in her class. Those are ordinary dudes in her class. Okay. Bo Johnson, what's up? Chance, what's going on? Encrypted Wolf, what's up? What's up? Oh, I love locks, baby. I love me some locks. You know what, Toya? Even back when I was younger, as a young man, right? I hated black women with fucking wigs, okay? And I hate black women with weaves. I hated to death. Toya, I'd rather you be bald, okay? I'd rather my woman be bald than to wear this shit on her head. I'd rather them be bald than wear a wig or wear a weave, okay? And all my women fought that shit, okay? They all fought it. But when they're with me, okay, they didn't wear that shit. When they're with me, you wear your hair. If you got to cut it all off and be bald, I'd rather you be bald than wear that shit on your head. Okay, I never could stand a weave. I never could stand a wig. Nothing like that. Don't if you got to wear a wig for to go out or for a business, I'll deal with that. But me personally, I don't like you wearing wigs. I want your hair. Okay, so I feel you. Sounds a bit low. Okay, I don't know. All right, my sound seems to be fine. My sound seems to be fine. Let me see, let me check my audio settings. Okay. All right. Let's see. My sounds. Okay. All right. There it is. Okay. Kerry Golds, what's up? Don't walk, run from the community. The community is done, man. Community is donezo. Okay, it's donezo. Especially since they're going to cut the safety net at the bottom, and they're going to cut DEI and those special government programs at the top. It's donezo. There's nothing to run away from. It's donezo. Cyrus, what's up? DJ B-Side, what's up? Most Fet, what's going on? Okay. Oh, he's from Arizona. Were you in Phoenix, or where you at, Dr. Dunbar? Trouble Man. Hey, Trouble Man, what's up, man? How you doing, man? You doing good? And can we get a master teacher proportional response to the mayor of Chicago telling Trump they don't need help? I can say this, okay? If the mayor and the governor says they don't need help, Trump probably cannot send troops, okay? If y'all don't need help, okay, then you don't need help. Then the citizens will have to deal with it. If y'all don't want extra help on the streets to keep your streets calm, because I looked at a lot of stores being looted by these YNs, okay? If that's the kind of chaos that Chicago wants, it's your city. Facts, we don't need to go back. Private broadcaster, what's up? Michael, what's going on? Love Gun, what's going on? Babu, what's up? AHG Trail, what's happening? Art, what's going on? Quentin, what's happening? DJ B Side, what's going on? There's you're late, Instant Media. Report to my ready room on the double. Okay. Adrian Aquarius, what's going on? Houston High School graduates are CADD certified. What does that mean? Tao, what's going on? Face Facts, what's going on? Kinsey and Red, what's up? Hurricane Greg, what's going on? Timothy Harden, what's going on? Salute Master Teacher, thank you for the explanation of white versus. I mean, you know, I was a MGTOW. I was a hardcore MGTOW, man. And I wasn't part of, I was not part of this so-called black manosphere, right? Okay. I got a rude awakening. Okay. I got a rude awakening. And a lot of that stuff about, because I it used to be in the blogs, okay, because there's some very staunch white supremacists that are in the red pill blogs, okay, part of the white manosphere in the red pill blogs that they keep hidden. There's some stuff that came out about Roller Tomasi, who's supposed to be the godfather, one of the godfathers of the white manosphere, the white red pill. Okay, it is what it is, and you know what? I'm not there to rain on their parade. Okay, and when I was a part of them, I kept it neutral. Okay, I played by their rules. Okay, and when I didn't want to play by the rules, I didn't take a poop and take a pee all over their channels and stuff like that. I just left. Okay. I went to white schools, okay? I can walk in a room full of white people, and if they give me that look, like I'm not wanted, guess what I do? I turn around, I walk out of the room. I'm not there to fight you, okay? I know what I'm worth, okay? And the same white people that chase me out the room come looking for me because they want to know something, okay? Basically, when I went to white schools, once I went to sit next to white boys in class, they were cheating off my paper. I found out I'm better than 90% of them. I am smarter and better than 90% of them. They don't intimidate me, not one lick, not one, none of them. But that's just me. She said she dates cops, and she has sex with cops. She don't date them. She has sex with cops. Okay. Women always call, just like a street prostitute would call it a date. It's not a date. She having sex with them. It's not a date. Dr. Ills, you know better. You know better about cops. Okay, cops banging on hood chicks. Okay, they're not dating them. Charles, what's up? Oh yeah, Toya. Well, you know me. I got a lot of pushback, man, from women. They trying to intimidate with their friends. Well, it's okay to have wigs and stuff like this, but girl, pull that shit off your head, okay? Are you laying next to her? Or are you laying next to me? If you want to go by what she says, you go lay next to her, okay? With that face full of makeup and that fake hair on your head, okay? You go get in the bed with her. Get in bed with me. You take all that shit off. I'm real about that, man. If I wanted a woman, because I went to a white school, if I want a woman with straight hair and light and white skin and blue eyes, all that kind of shit, I go find me a white girl or an Asian girl or a Latina girl. I don't need to get a black girl. I get a black girl because I want a black girl. If I want a white girl, I go get one. Juicy Juice Bourbon, what's going on? My sound is good? Okay. I'd rather have a bald chick, Ohio players instead of Geraldine. Yep, I heard that. Another BBL channel bag teacher going for. Oh man, you know what? God bless her, man. She couldn't be. I couldn't have her in my class because I would actually get on her ass. Okay. Said my thoughts. I found a few smaller white ministry channels, and yeah, it's pretty much what you think it would be. Yeah, I mean, I had no problem with it. Okay, I have no problem with it's there. It's there. Um, Let's go get it out of the way as far as the white manosphere, okay? They have a right to their opinions on their channels, okay? And some shit that they're gonna say about black folks, I am not gonna like. I'm not gonna like it, right? And that's fine. They can say it over there. I don't go over there and interfere with them. But guess what? Over here, there's a whole lot of shit that I say about white men that they ain't gonna like. Fair is fair. I don't talk about them a lot, but when I do, okay, when I tell the truth about white boys, okay, they don't like it. One thing I say about white boys, okay, one thing I say about white boys rather than black men, especially, feminized black men, as most of us are, right? A white boy will know that you fucking tell the truth and shut his ass up. He'll shut the fuck up, okay? When I give a white boy the hardcore truth, he gonna shut up because he gonna know that it's true, and he's not gonna argue against the truth. White, black men, because we've been feminized with our black women, will actually argue against the goddamn truth all day long, which is something about black men I cannot stand. Motherfucker, you know this shit is true. Okay, cool, Trouble Man. Looking forward to it. Phoenix Metro. Okay, I ain't been in Phoenix, man, in about since my kids were small. Gotta be at least 20 years. Is a covert plantation? Yep, with modern candy for black. It is. It is, and they hide that shit, which I don't like. Vereen, what's going on? Superstar Jay Quick, what's going on? To be just was always right. Okay, cool, Tunnel Runner. Terry Collins, what's going on? Red Planet, what's going on? Logan the Realist, what's happening? Adrian Aquarius, what's happening? A computer aided design and drafting user engine. Okay, all right. Okay. Brother Dot, when they say certified, educational standards are low. The bar is pretty low. So when they say certified, I got to take it with a grain of salt. Brother Dot, what's going on? I think it's you, Brother Dot. I don't think my mic is choppy, but I can't hear myself, okay? My mic is lagging, okay? I can't do nothing about that, okay? That is StreamYard, so you're going to have to bear with it. And I don't think I can do anything about that. Let me listen to myself real quick. I'm sounding good. When I'm listening to the YouTube feed, I sound fine. I'm listening. Just sample the my feed. I sound fine. I was in college and all the white guys were in one or two fraternities, so they shared old tests. Oh, yeah, they did. They did, which is fine. So, same thing with the quick. I just checked my mic. My mic is not choppy. Okay, reload it. T Flow, what's going on? Age of Machine, what's going on? My mic is choppy now. Let me check the feed again. All right. I said, BGS, I got them Alibaba AI chips for you, so we ain't got to use NVIDIA chips, so you can broadcast live from Hoover Street 24/7. And I ain't broadcasting from Hoover, man. No, no, no. That's too close to the whole stroll, okay? Hoover's like maybe Hoover's like maybe a block or two from the whole stroll from Figueroa, man. Oh, no. Not from over there. Yeah. Yeah, it's YouTube. There's nothing I can do about that. Anyhow, all right, let's go ahead and get into before we get too far in. Before we get too far in, let's go ahead and get it started. I decided people didn't know or have forgotten what culture is. I've actually done it. Hell, my whole 20. When I first got to, I did it in 2012 on another channel. Okay, I did it in 2014 with my MGTOWs, one of the first things I did, and I've done it here. I don't do it often because what is it? Write once, use many times. Okay, deploy many times. Okay, I've done it many times. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back and play some of my old stuff. Okay, about culture. Okay, anybody reading quickly this should be familiar to them. Okay, but I'm going to go back and we're going to review some of my old stuff that I've already done. Okay, since I've already got the charts out, instead of redrawing it fresh. If I got to redraw it fresh, let me know. I don't think I do. I think most people will get it. And so we're going to start with the first intro to culture, okay? And then we will finish up. I probably got maybe 20-25 minutes of video. I'll pause it for emphasis, but now you can tell that is fairly recent because that's my my IBMOR image, you know. This is going to serve as my introduction to culture. Get a lot of questions that relate to culture, that people don't realize that actually relate to culture. And culture basically comes down to why people do things. Why do they do things in a given environment that may differ from how other groups of people do things? And it comes down to culture. Culture is something that we kind of loosely understand because we actually do it, we actually experience it, how it's defined, but most people don't know the technical side of culture. And to explain the technical side of culture to most people, you can see their eyes glaze over. So instead of continually, that's why I started explaining it, because especially when we talked about the difference between the women down there and the women up here is due to culture. But you have to understand what culture is. Culture, and we're going to explain it, is three components. Okay, we're going to get into it. Explaining it and sounding like I'm doing a math equation. I've been told by my master teacher, Dr. Johnson, that I should do it in a more comprehensive approach. In other words, gather all the pieces together, organize them in a manner, step by step, where people can actually understand what you're talking about. So then when you give them a brief answer relating to culture, you won't have to do this 10-minute, 15-minute, sometimes hour-long explanation about why culture is important or how this relates. There's a lot of different elements to culture, like demographics, like history, like religion, like socialization, like education. All those particular things are basically human instruments for adaptation to an environment, or either one that's past, or one that's present, or one that they think will happen. They use culture to actually prime the next generation or next generations of people for what they think might be a future event. Some things work, some things don't. But hopefully by the end of this series, I don't know how long the series is going to be, I'm going to try to make it till the end of the month and try to put out at least 2 or 3 videos per week till the end of the month. Hopefully, if I get rolling, I can do one every day.
Hopefully no more than like 10 or 15 minutes apiece, because anything longer than that, I know you guys' eyes are going to glaze over. And I want people to see it instead of continually asking me freaking questions about something that they should already have realized to be able to answer themselves. So hopefully with this resource, you can start answering some of these questions yourself instead of bugging me about it, because I just got an email like yesterday that relates to this. Anyhow, let's jump into it. Now, this was taken from Albert Churchward's The Origin and Evolution of Religion.
We talked about this book before, okay? At some point, I'm gonna have to go over some of this stuff on Patreon because it's extensive, okay?
Albert Churchward wrote several books relating to signs and symbols and cultural adaptations, right? So, but this one actually pointed out, will actually give you an idea of exactly how important culture is and how sticky it is and how long it can actually be passed down and how it can change forms, even though we don't realize it. The totem then represented the maternal ancestor, the mother who gave herself up for food to the tribe and was eaten absolutely alive after she had ceased to bear children, because she should never die but always be alive. This was the primitive Eucharist. Eucharist, if you look it up, it's still practiced in Catholic churches today, and was the
And it actually still practiced in all Christian churches today.
foundation of all such rites. The body and the blood were veritably eaten whilst alive, and no morsel, however small, was allowed to remain uneaten. It was a sacred feast to be equally partaken of by each member of the tribe. This custom has now died out in most parts of the world, if not all, inhabited by the Nilotic Negroes. And her totemic zootype is eaten sacramentally, in other words, ceremoniously, once a year in the place of the human mother. It is very important to remember that this is the origin of the principal doctrines of the Christian cult, and can be traced through different cults in evolution to the present time in its various phases. We know this as the Christian sacrament.
And we what do you call it? I forget what we call it now. We call it communion. Some places we call it a whole bunch of things, right? Okay. Christian churches, Catholic churches, basically Eastern European Orthodox churches, they all do it, right? And that zootype of the sacrifice of the mother go all the way back, what, 100, 200,000 years? It's still with us, okay? That's culture.
With Jesus, that said what? As often as you do this and remember me, take this bread, it represents my body. You drink this wine, it represents my blood. Right? Remember that? Most Christians should remember that. Even most Muslims should remember that. Still done today in the Catholic Church. The Eucharist is still practiced today in the Catholic Church. One of the oldest sacraments in the world. Basically, the sacrament goes back 150,000 years and has been adopted by many different religions over 150,000 years, and it still exists today. It is a cultural instrument that we still use today, even in the Black Christian church. Everybody remembers it. It's called communion. So basically, it is not a white practice. It's actually an African practice that has been passed down through various phases. And we still use it because it's natural to us, even though we don't recognize it. With that being said, the normal state of an organism, whether it's animal, a bacteria, a virus, what have you, if it's a living organism, it has to have some way to adapt to its environment.
And we'll go through there. But the thing is, culture is an adaptation, okay? But we'll get into that, right? Okay. This right here is the organic way for for the relationship between the biology of animals or people, okay? Because even animals have a a primitive culture, okay? A practice of survival.
How animals do it, or other organisms do it, is they use their bodies to face the environment. The environment interacts with them. They use their bodies to interact with the environment. And we call that evolution. As the environment changes, and we're going to go over that as far as time scales later on in the series, as the environment changes, the body has to change to adapt to it. Like when seagoing bacteria formed cellular organisms, and then they came upon land and they had to develop lungs and whatnot to breathe to a different environment. Same thing. With animals, the body adapts to the environment.
Basically, but most animals, their body is evolution has adapted them to their environment. Okay, which is why when you have an extinction of species, when the environment changes rapidly, too rapidly for the animal to change, they die out.
Most animal culture is using their bodies to adapt to the environment. As you go up the scale, they use different mechanisms. Culture gets more advanced. But for the basic thing, most animal culture is genetic. It's in the genes. It's inbred as soon as that
DC, stop being a pedestrian for a change, okay? Stop acting like a pedestrian.
baby hits the ground. A lot of animals run on instinct. Human beings do not. So, an example of a human being without its culture is this. It's like an animal. Its body, or your body, is reacting to the environment, and the environment is reacting to your body. So if it's warm, if it's cold, if it's wet, if it's rainy, your body has to adapt to the environment that it's around. In some cases, like when you get cold, you shiver, or when it gets hot, you sweat. That is your body reacting to the environment. Same way an animal would. Now, we don't normally recognize this is because we have a layer between us, between the environment and us. Most people, I ask, what is culture? Or they ask, well, what is culture? I tell them what culture is not because it's easier to explain. This is you without culture. Everything else is culture that allows you.
Well, Landon, did they explain it this way? They explain it this way. I know they had a broadcast on it, but they explain it this way.
To do what? Adapt to this. It allows this to adapt to this. Now, this is the primitive culture. Okay, as you can see that instead of your body being against this, the environment, you have this interface layer. We call it culture. And culture is everything from the clothing, your houses, your weapons, your tools, you're growing food, domesticating animal. All that is allowing you, this human organism, the body, to feed itself, to survive in its surroundings, in its natural surroundings, to thrive and survive. That's what little guy does for you. Now, Quigley's more modern diagram, culture is actually a bigger factor. In fact, culture is actually a bigger ring than your human organism. So you have a much, much broader layer between you and your environment, or your natural environment. Everything underneath all this concrete that we put up, all this asphalt that we put up, is your natural environment. The dirt underneath is your natural environment, not the stuff that's on top. And this, the stuff that's on top that we put, the layer that we actually put between us and our natural environment is called culture. And all the instruments or hierarchies that we have to actually adapt on this planet is actually
That's why the fastest way to change human behavior, or human behavior, is nothing but culture. Okay, how humans behave. Okay, that's culture. Okay, fastest way to change culture is what? Change the environment. That's why I always say, what's the most important thing in human culture? Environment. When it changes, okay, if you're going to survive, if you want to survive, to live, you're going to have to adapt faster. Your culture has to change, okay? So when I said about women coming back to the table, black women especially coming back to the table, okay? I said you can't change them, but the environment will. As soon as the environment started getting tough, guess what they started doing? Hey, big head calls started. A symbol of unity, heart. See, y'all y'all getting pedestrian again. That's the blue pill shit. Okay, that's blue pill shit. Okay, that's blue. Social, your social environment is culture. Okay, your social environment is not real. Okay, social environment is created by you.
Inside this thing, inside this ring we call culture. Another thing we're actually going to talk about is the nature versus nurture in human development.
And this is something that the feminists thought they had a handle on, and they were wrong, because they try to get rid of what? They try to get rid of this. They try to get rid of nature. They said nature, they said culture was 100% and nature doesn't matter. And all I can say is bullshit, okay? That's what they're finding out now, okay? So that's why they're trying to rewrite feminist history right now.
And I found this a while back because it's a good diagram of how this particular mechanism works. When they say nature versus nurture, what they mean is biology and environment versus what? Culture. This is your biology or your instincts versus your culture that you're taught. And this is how culture actually interfaces with evolution or gene expression. Like normal evolution is like an animal, but the thing is, with experience, which your culture actually starts self-selecting which genes are going to get passed on. And these two things.
The blank slate theory, which is blank slate theory has been proved was wrong. Was proven wrong way before it was even proven wrong. Okay, blank slate theory had no underlying science behind it. None. Blank slate theory doesn't exist. It's impossible to be a blank slate and survive on this planet.
Things affect the current organism or the offspring. They do what? Help it adapt to what? The current environment, which is something I always talk about what women do and what women look for as far as mates. And these two things, the current situation, these four.
Reynolds, stop being a pedestrian for a minute and listen, okay? Stop being a pedestrian. Pay attention, okay? If not, I could have done it. I could actually do this on Patreon and get paid for it, okay? I don't need to do it here. I'm doing it here for free. For free. Is because you guys asked for it. So stop being a pedestrian, okay? That stuff that you talk about, right? About this is basically meaningless right now, okay? For the most part.
Things, the gene expression, the experience that's been passed down, because these things get passed down into the current organism to help adapt to the current situation. And these four things actually affect the behavior of people or the organism or the person. And then the feedback loop is what back into evolution. So all these things self-select. Culture gets built in by doing that into evolution. Human beings are one of the few people who actually do that. Few creatures that actually do that. Now this stuff is culture. This is a hierarchy representation of culture. This is out of Quigley's book, The Evolution of Civilizations. And these are the 6 layers that he put up, which is an extension of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. These needs are what culture is built on.
In other words, why you think the physical needs, an environment, okay, needs of the environment for the actually adapt to the environment is at the bottom, and it works its way up, right? Okay, self-actualization is the tip of the pyramid, but without this, okay, without these two basically, okay, to survive in nature, you never get to these, okay? Basic needs, right? Okay, your basic needs are your basic culture for your biology to survive in an environment, right? And then you work your way up.
And you have to satisfy these needs as you go up. And you have to have a cultural instrument for each of them. So all your cultural instruments are actually built from these needs of the organism to adapt to what? The environment. So as we go through this thing, bit by bit, hopefully bit by bit.
Basically, the thing is that this in my opinion, this is not a patriarchal society anymore. Okay, patriarchy in itself is a cultural adaptation. Okay, and black women are lying about it being a patriarchy. It's not a patriarchy. Okay, it hasn't been for a very long time. Okay, patriarchy or what they call patriarchy has very set rules. Okay, those rules do not exist anymore for the most part. Those rules don't exist no more. So in other words, if you kill the rules in the setup of a patriarchy, is it still a patriarchy? No, it's not. It's a patriarchy in name only, right? The traditional patriarchy in most of the world does not exist anymore. Okay? Mr. Donnie Mack says, I'm enjoying this BGS. Have you seen the updated Maslow hierarchy of needs? Maybe another topic to discuss. I'll look at it, okay? I mean, it can't get too far away from it, from what you see here. This is the, if you look at it, okay, that circle that Quigley drew, okay, is the basis of all this stuff, okay? Your basic of all this stuff. Culture is nothing but the interface or the reaction between the human beings biology, and the environment. Okay, when those two things come together, the result of those two things clashing together is going to be culture. We change one, you change the other. Okay, if you change humans, okay, the human biology, if you can, that's very slow. Okay, or change the way human biology is expressed, the culture would change. If you change the environment that human beings have to be up against, the culture would change. You know you're OG, triple OG when you can cite yourself as a source. BGS was right. I just didn't want to do it again, man. I've done it before. I just didn't want to do it again. That's all. I didn't. I could have gotten out the tablet and hooked it up, and we drew take the diagrams and went through all this stuff again. But things has already gone through it many times. I'm not. I'm not going and doing this stuff fresh again. I'm actually going to just go ahead and comment on the stuff I've already done. It's easier that way.
We're going to actually build a picture of what culture is, how it's built, some different components of it, maybe even some different examples of it, so that we can actually have a reference of how I think of culture, how I describe it, or how I understand it, because it's only my understanding. I am not an expert. I don't have a PhD. This is not my expertise of study, but this is how I understand the world. That's how I understand people, and so far it has done me fairly well over the past 20 years. But anyway, this is my introduction. This is my overview, and I'll see you students, on the next video. Shout out to Root Imp. Jump in since you want to teach culture and you want to be the master teacher. Jump in and teach me what I don't know. Well, with that, I'm out of here. Peace.
Or in other words, how explain to me if the current system exists, how come you got food, water, clothing, shelter, heat, and electricity? Okay, so you're not in the middle of the woods starving to death. So how is the current system environment doesn't support this? Or doesn't it support what I'm saying? Explain it to me. Explain it to me. Basic needs are being met. Okay, what are the basic needs, DC? Yeah, basic needs are being met. What are you talking about? Okay, y'all. I know you guys. I know this is a little bit above the pedestrian level, but y'all have to catch up, man. Y'all have to catch up. I don't think it's that hard. I really don't. Personally, I don't think it's that hard. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Okay. See if I can find it. Okay. All right. This is lesson 2. Okay. Man, it's been a long time since I did this shit. Jesus Christ, got to be 5 or 6 years.
My argument is going to be based on Carol Quigley's evolution of.
No, it's not hard. It's not hard. I mean, Theo, Mookie, I think I pretty much simplified it. Okay. I mean, we could get more complex, but I think I simplified it fairly well. Okay. I think I simplified it fairly well. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I'm missing something.
Civilizations, Chapter 2, Man and Culture, where he gives a great argument about the relationship between human beings, human culture, and nature. He argues that there is no separation between those three entities. All three interact fluidly with one another, while all three are changed by the other. Quigley gives a good example of what human instinct or human nature is and isn't compared to the other animals that survive almost solely on instinct. He then goes on to talk about what human culture is and the role it plays in developing that human nature to what he calls a human personality. Then how the personalities that form the culture change not only it, but the natural world that surrounds them. We'll argue that human culture has such a profound effect on behavior that it can't really be separated from human nature without a lot of difficulty. They both change each other and slowly influence our evolution over time. I'll argue that male and female roles and attitudes are only partially influenced by our nature. The other parts of the picture come from what our culture teaches and what our environment offers in a flexible, interactive matrix. I'll show that much of what we think is instinct, nature, revealing itself is not actual. What we are really seeing is culture affecting the human personalities within it. We'll get a clearer look at this dynamic process. This will lay the groundwork for later arguments in other videos. Getting a clearer look at all the components that make up the individual first, and then building into a culture, and finally a society and civilization will help put some of these confusing interactions into some kind of perspective. Finally, I'll give my opinions on what and why things happen in a culture and how those things affect the male-female dynamic, how changes affect and direct the wants, needs, and goals of the personalities inside of the human species. In this section, what we're going to be doing is comparing instinct and culture. Carol Quigley uses the sea turtles as an example. He talks about how sea turtles go ashore and bury their eggs in the hot sand, knowing that the heat will cause them to hatch. He explains what emerges is not so much a baby turtle, but a small turtle that has most of its wiring or instincts already intact. So with no mother to look after it, it is able to survive and grow on its own. It feeds, avoids predators, and navigates the oceans purely on instinct. It has no need to be taught by its parents. It is born completely able to function in its natural environment without help. By contrast, a human baby is born completely helpless. By design, it has very few of its natural instincts and very little of its wiring already hooked up, which is both a blessing and a curse. The blessing is that this design allows for enormous flexibility. Human beings can adapt to a wide range of conditions and climates. The downside is that the rearing process takes an enormous amount of time. Since it doesn't have the majority of its wiring or instincts already hooked up, it is completely helpless. The way these wires or connections get hooked up, or whether they get hooked up at all, depends on what happens to the child as it grows up. We all know about
that is why you get a different woman when you go overseas. Okay, you're gonna get a different woman when you go overseas is because the way she is socialized and trained to adapt. Okay, that's wiring that she cannot unwire. She cannot unwire herself. Okay, so in other words, the way she is, okay. The way she's trained by her parents and by her surroundings and by her culture, okay, you can't undo that. Same thing with black women. Right? There's some things black women can adjust to, okay, and some things that they can't, okay. The way black women see men, okay, she can adjust, but she can't change it. Is because she's grown up that way and she's been taught that way. So the way she looks at her own man, especially her own man, okay, that's not going to change, okay? Can she suppress it? Yes, she can. You sound younger. Yeah, because this is 2014. So that's 11 years ago. So I am younger.
children that were lost as babies and raised by wolves, that are never able to talk or really walk upright because during the critical period of development, they never experienced human language or other human abilities. So for this exercise, we're going to describe all the potential connections that the human mind can make as human potentialities. And those potentialities we're going to call human nature. The connections that are made through training and experience we're going to call human personality. Now, Quigley makes it clear that human personality is only a small subset of human nature. It can be argued that at birth, that most people have the potential for being aggressive or submissive, selfish or generous, cowardly or brave, even to some point relatively masculine or feminine.
That's why all babies are born with a personality that's inbuilt. Okay, I got 3 kids and 5 grandchildren. Right. Okay, I seen them born. Okay, their personalities have never changed. Now they adapt. Personalities adapt, but their personalities have never changed. Okay, they're still the same people they were when they're fresh out of the womb.
What qualities are brought forth to form a human personality depends on how each person is trained. For example, compare how boys and girls were trained in the 1950s, say, versus the 1990s. Most would say the females that were trained during that period were a lot more docile and pliable compared to their male counterparts. Under feminism, the females that were trained in the 1990s are a lot closer in aggression to their male counterparts. So there is a very strong correlation between training and experience and personality. While not all personalities are the same, they all share a very consistent traits amongst individuals. This is, of course, evident from the consideration already mentioned, namely that human beings are helpless at birth and must be cared for and trained during a period of many years. The way in which they are cared for and trained depends largely on the personalities of the people whom they encounter as they are growing up. But these personalities again depend on the way which these adults were reared. Thus, there appear in any society certain patterns of action, of belief, and of thought that are passed on from generation to generation, always slightly different, both from generation to generation and from
Especially women, especially inculcate culture more than men do. Men are usually the dynamic that actually changes culture. Okay, men change culture, women adapt to it. So a lot of black women, when you hear them talking, it's been passed down from other women. Most of the adaptation, okay, or change come from men.
Person to person in any single generation, but possessing a recognizable pattern. This pattern depends not only on the way people are trained to act, to feel, and to think, but also more concrete manifestations of their own social environment, such as
Charles, not only was it suppressed, but also women are much more masculine compared to what they used to be. So back in the day when women were more soft-spoken and more humble and less aggressive, okay, in comparison, men were masculine. Now, guess what happens, okay? If women are a lot more masculine, in comparison, a lot of men are soft. It's not that the men have changed that much. The men have not changed that much. The women have changed a lot. Okay, they have been altered.
the kind of clothes they wear, the kind of shelters in which they live, the kind of tools they have for making a living, the kind of food they eat and how they eat it, the kind of toys they have to amuse themselves, as well as the kind of weapons they have to defend themselves. All of these things, patterns of action, feeling, and thought, as well as concrete objects used in these activities, are known in the social sciences as culture. In the last section, we talked about human nature, human potentialities, and human culture. Human potentialities develop.
I wasn't born. I started functioning at the Howe manufacturing plant in Urbana, Illinois. I can adapt to any culture. Adapt to any culture. Yep. With the right upgrades.
Through training. In this section, we're going to talk about human culture. Human culture we define as a social heritage passed down by the trained human personalities. Men are forced to be soft, okay, because the penalties for not being that way are severe. Okay, nobody wants to go to jail. Nobody wants to get arrested by cops. Nobody basically or get beaten or chastised by teachers. So they're forced to adapt. Okay, in other words, men are or boys are basically chained. They're not really that soft because when they get outside that environment, they start to change. They start to go back to their old selves. In the social group, and how this social heritage, even while differing slightly from person to person and generation to generation, forms consistent patterns of actions, feelings, and thoughts inside that social group. While other creatures are surrounded by their natural environment, human beings interact on a different plan. Human culture intervenes as a kind of buffer between them and their natural environment. This active buffer penetrates humans on one hand and the environment on the other, changing both. The human being's neurological reactions are largely determined by culture, and at the same time, through culture, human beings modify their natural environment by activities such as building homes, cooking food, cutting down forests, draining swamps, and killing off dangerous animals.
In other words, the human culture is modifying the environment. Okay, that's why culture is modifying not only human beings inside of it to adapt, but also the environment on the outside to adapt to the humans. Okay, which we see this on steroids with the automation and AI. Okay, now we've adapted tools and changed our surrounding environment with other elements. Okay, like smartphones, internet, vast trade networks, grocery stores, stuff like that, right? We've evolved to the point where we actually changed the way humans culture is actually developed because we also changed the environment that humans are actually in. Okay, most of the places where humans are actually artificial. Okay, even in so-called developing countries. Okay, there's no houses or crops grown in the middle of the forest, right? You have to feed off what's there. Okay, that's you altering the environment to where it's artificial. Those crops will not develop without you. Those homes will not get built without you. Okay.
Throughout human history, human culture has modified the face of the earth. This is what makes human beings so complex. Instead of the normal twofold dynamic as with other creatures, the animal surrounded by its natural environment, human beings have a threefold dynamic. The human being surrounded by his culture and both surrounded by the natural environment. For example, when a turtle lays dozens of eggs in hopes that some turtles from those eggs can be carried into maturity by obedience to its fairly rigid instincts, survival of its species is dependent on a few surviving out of the many. Human beings, on the other hand, have very few offspring and almost no rigid instincts. Along with a long maturation period, the survival of mankind depends on almost all of its offspring surviving. Since each member is very valuable, they must be reared and trained not only to take care of themselves, but to add benefit to the culture.
Exactly. That's why demographics is so important. Okay. If you understand this, you can understand why demographics are important.
There are two things culture has to deal with. One is the wide gamut of human potentiality, and two, the drive to make those potentialities actual. These potentialities range from the
Now, women are delusional. They're not trying to. Women are not trying to fucking express manhood. Okay, they have every opportunity to actually express manhood. They don't want to do it because number one, it's not natural to them, and number two, they're lazy. Okay, that's bullshit. The only reason women, if you understand women and the esoteric nature of women, women only exist in the now. They don't exist in the future.
concrete, material needs, through the emotional and intellectual, and into the spiritual. There have been many experts who tried to classify these potentialities, but for this exercise, we're going to use Dr. Quigley's categories: military, political, economic, social, religious, and intellectual. Since the levels of culture arise from men's efforts to satisfy their human needs, we can say that every level has a purpose. Military, the need for group security. Political, the need to organize interpersonal power. Economic, the need for material wealth. Social, the need for companionship. Religious, the need for psychological certainty. And intellectual, the need for understanding. This range of human potentialities is also the range of human needs because of man's vital drive that impels him to seek to realize his potentialities. This drive is even more mysterious than the potentialities it seeks to realize. Men have debated and theorized about this drive since the dawn of mankind. Still, we haven't come close to a definitive answer. All we can say is, when these potentialities of human nature are realized, they become the characteristics of human personality. This is very helpful, for we cannot directly observe or study human nature.
That is true. Basically, each one of these segments, okay, have what they call social cultural instruments for that, like the church, right? The church is a religious instrument, right? Okay, they're actually develop a certain kind of product for a need, right? Same thing with economics, right? Capitalism, socialism, okay, industrialism, or economic instruments for a purpose. You understand culture, understand the purposes of these things, you actually understand the instruments that go into it and why they are there. Like marriage is a social instrument. Okay, marriage is a social instrument to do what? Put men and women together in an organized manner and produce children and offspring for the society. That's what it's there for. Okay, all this other hoo ha about I want to be happy and I'm there because God willed it so. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But the thing is, there's a specific reason why marriage is a certain way. And marriage here is not marriage all over the planet. It's similar but not the same. Okay? These are instruments. Okay? This goes completely over women's heads. He just dropped it recently. He was saying women hate the idea of men being able to express their full masculinity. Okay? Um, I don't know what that means about full masculinity. Okay, I had the idea what that means. Okay, I don't know why women want to express masculinity. Really, they don't. Is because they would have to compete, and women are horrible at competing. Okay, women want equity, which is men to give them something. Women don't want to compete.
And are compelled to make assumptions as to what it must be like from our studies of human personality. Since the characteristics of human personality emerge from the potentialities of human nature as a result of experience and training, and since each person's experience and training are different, each personality is different.
Now, towards the end, what we want to talk about is the nature versus nurture argument. As pointed out, nature is simply your biology, the instincts that you're born with, just like the turtle. The part of it that you can't wire out, that's your nature. Sometimes you can overcome it a little bit, but basically that is the inbuilt biological part that human beings have, such as the kind of foods that you like to eat, sweets, stuff like that. Those things are actually inbuilt into your biology. That is your nature. Also, what I believe is every person is born with a personality. There's no such thing as a blank slate. A lot of, how can I say, European scientists like to believe that there is such thing as a blank slate. There is no such thing as a blank slate, even with animals that have no human culture, that haven't been taught, coming out as, say, a dog coming out having like 6 or 7 puppies. They all have different personalities. So if a less complex mammal can have personalities, don't you think that human beings can have personalities? I have 3 children, raised all basically the same. They have distinct personalities. They were born with distinct personalities. That is part of your nature. Culture is your nurture. As Quigley says, that is the high-level programming that you get coming out of the womb, taught by your society and your parents. This is why human beings are more complex, because nurture has a bigger role in raising a human being. This is why it takes so long for a human being to grow and to learn, and so many different inputs that we have into this large brain that we have. You can tell that modern societies that have tried to overcome nature, say between men and women, are having a hard time because their nurture is rejecting the programming, which is
why Western civilization is dying as we speak. Okay, it's dying. Okay, it's because they interfered with the natural order. Okay, they try to change something that has been adapted and found to work, so they want to adjust it. Guess what? It's dying.
Is angst amongst men and women in their 20s and 30s because they've been programmed one way and it doesn't work with their nurture. So what happens? You're getting this big fluff. Seeing this right now with the millennials. They try programming them one way, but the thing is you program against their nature, which most societies for a couple 100,000 years have worked with their nature instead of against their nature. But when you work with the nature, when your nurture works with your nature, it's very sticky. It lasts for a very long time. It's almost indistinguishable when their nurture or your culture works with your nature. When your culture works with what is already there. That's when it becomes almost indistinguishable between what you were born with and what you're taught. And they do a lot of experiments to kind of separate the two, to figure out what is nature and what is nurture. For obvious reasons, when they do experiments to separate the two, they want to see what human beings they're automatically wired to do, so that can translate across cultures. Anything that human beings are wired to do will translate across cultures in a given environment, which is something we'll also get into, but that's going to be much, much, much later. But anyway, I want to keep these videos down to a reasonable amount so that you guys can actually follow them without getting too bored. So with that, this is BGS out, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
All right, we are over an hour, and didn't want to make this too long. But that is a pretty good overview. I mean, I have more videos that go into a broader complexity of what culture actually is. Okay, if you understand culture, you understand environment and culture, then you can pretty much get a good roadmap of where things are going. Okay, what do people need? What do they depend on? What systems do they depend on now? And if those systems go away, how will they adapt? And if you could see things that way, then the rest of this stuff kind of makes sense. Okay, kind of makes sense. What is the ultimate goal of any human being or any society? Is the advancement and the survivability of the people inside of the society. That's the ultimate goal. Okay, and the thing is, what does it need to survive, and what instruments can it bring to bear that's going to make survive in that particular environment easier? That's the ultimate goal. If you understand that, then you understand how things work. If you understand that, you knew that at some point, okay, the women, all of them, not just the black, but all of them, were going to have to come back and redo the ship because the stuff they were on, the direction they were going, wasn't going to work. That was obvious it wasn't going to work. But unfortunately, people double down on this stuff, and they have to run the experiment. They've run the experiment for 60 years. Shit has not worked. So now they're trying to undo what they've already done, or they're trying to modify it to where it will actually work. So the Mouse Utopia experiment and all that other kind of crap, all that goes into what we're talking about right here. It's all mixed in, okay? Now the West and the civilizational rotation and that kind of stuff is another theme. I'm not even going to go into it on this channel, okay? That is a Patreon level explanation. In fact, I did talk about it on Patreon. And what a dose of act right, what the dose of survival. Okay, basically, them streets will give you act right, if nothing else. Those streets will give you act right. If it ain't, and the streets are not as hard as them woods. Them woods will actually get you act right in a hurry, because them animals and those insects and you not being able to eat will get you humble in a heartbeat. Okay. Make you very, very humble. It's trying to have it both ways by trying to entice the men to return to prop up the system while keeping women at the top. That shit's not going to work, okay? If men, okay, that takes the acquiescence of the men. Okay? If the men do not agree, it's not gonna. That is a that's a MGTOW theory. Okay, if you starve the system will have to change. Okay, most of you young boys have adopted a MGTOW stance. That's how come your society is panicking now with, oh, so the men are so lonely. Bullshit. Okay, we're having a romance recession. That's true. Why? And most guys are saying, most guys will figure it out. I don't have to participate. I don't have to do what you say. I ain't got to take chicks out, okay? If I don't get any sex, I don't get any sex. So what? Or if push come to shove, I'll get on the plane, I'll go buy it. So what? Okay, tricking versus relationship is a morality thing. Okay, that's not black pill. That is a blue and red pill thing, which morals. Okay, a black pill guy doesn't give a shit whether you pay for it or you don't pay for it. Okay, it's a transaction. And if women want to make this society a transactional society, it's gonna go back to market forces. You change the environment that you live in, and because men will always adapt to their environment. That's how they survive. Okay, women, basically, women actually do what? They actually nest in a society, right? Okay, they don't adapt like men because men change. Okay, men can change much more rapidly than women can change. It takes decades for women to change. Men can change within years. Okay, look at the wave of the manosphere, right? Once men can see a good idea, they can change. Women can't. And answer that, passport bros go to where you are treated best. Passport bros are the example that proves the theory. Okay, men are not tied to their culture. They never have been. And basically, women are tied to their culture more than men are. Men can adapt faster. Men can actually adapt to other things, and men are showing that we can go any place and adapt. Okay, women go someplace else, and guess what? They have a hard time. It is what it is. Okay, and once what women, especially black women, try to do is transactionalize their relationships, right? So if you're gonna pay, you know, eliminate morality out of the equation, okay, then it's about dollars and cents, okay? Why should I pay for you uh, at a dollar when I can get a woman the same quality, maybe even better, at 10 cents on the dollar? Makes no sense. I get a better woman someplace else, different society, for less money. That makes no sense. Why buy a Jaguar for $300,000 is going to break down on me? When I can buy a Toyota Camry for $30,000 and it runs better. It'll run for 20 years. I don't have to worry about it. Cost less, better quality. No brainer, right? Quality of color. It's quality depends. Okay. What role will IQ play considering college-educated black women only produce less than 20% of all black babies? Um, IQ is genetic. Um, high IQ. I don't have to tell you. Go look at your IQ curves. Okay. Go look at your IQ curves. Go look at your curves. Okay. High IQs are less than 10% of the people. Much less than 10% of the people. High IQ starts at three deviations away from the center. That's one high IQs, which is less, which is the top. I think there's top 5% of people. My IQ is 140. I'm in the top 5% of people, according to the curves. So only 20% of college-educated women produce babies. That's normal. Okay. In fact, it's not even supposed to be. It's supposed to be 10. Okay. Bill Clinton, because he wanted to get rid of welfare, started sending more women, regular women, to college. So college education doesn't mean very much. In fact, you have people from Harvard and Yale that can't find a job. When you oversaturate a degree and put more supply out there on the market, guess what happens? Okay. Supply and demand, right? Demand goes down. What happens? Price goes down. It is what it is. I had a Tercel way back when. I had one of the first Tercels back in 1980. That assumes hierarchy people procreate to bring another. Okay, basically, I mean, you guys are intelligent enough to go back and do your own research, right? Go back and look at the curves, okay? We're not supposed to have 90% high IQ people. That doesn't exist, okay? That's not normal. Anyhow, let me get out of here, y'all. I have been here long enough. Snowman is gonna be back in action at 9:30 Eastern, 7:30 or 6:30 Pacific. Okay, with I think it's Indiana's in action. So be there for that. I've got Ramos having an event, his monthly seminar, so that I'll be there over there at 6. If you want to join that, contact Ron Wills and he'll set you up. Okay, we normally have a presentation, and then we have almost like a AMA interaction for the couple hours after that. So if you want to be part of that, go talk to Ron Wills. He'll set you up with it. And I'm sure there's a cost for the seminar, and he will let you know. But thing is, what I just gave you guys is basically a Patreon level talk. Okay, this is what I reserve for my Patreon members, and so I gave it to you for free. In fact, you could have found this on my MGTOW page. Could have found it on my IBMOR page, because I do this periodically because I want you to understand how to look at the world. Okay. This is a black pill way to look at the world. It's not a blue pill or red pill. It's a black pill way of looking at the world. Okay, it has no emotion in it. And I see a lot of guys want to plant the blue pill and red pill thinking onto what I was just saying. Okay, it has nothing to do with that. Okay, there's a way that culture is built. There's a way that the environments are built, and there's a way how you have to work with human nature. Steve Jobs of Apple knew that implicitly, okay? No matter what you say, okay, if it doesn't work with human nature, any technology is doomed to fail. If people can't use it, people's nature and their bodies can't use it, they'll reject it. AI still has a long way to go because they have to figure out how the people can actually use this thing, okay? How to interface it. And that's going to take a minute. But anyhow, the women are aborting kids from high IQ people, keeping kids from low IQ people that will have a different IQ some IQ is genetic and some IQ is just random. Okay? There's a lot of random people that have extremely high IQs. And I don't think the abortion rate is any higher amongst high IQ women versus low IQ women. The thing is, we don't know about the abortion rate of low IQ women. The abortion rate of low IQ women is much higher than the abortion rate of high IQ women. Much, much, much higher. It's because high IQ women actually learn how to use birth control and condoms. Anyhow, let me get out of here, y'all. But if you think that's different, please show me your research, okay? All right, good people.
And with that, I just have two more words to say. Obama out.
Muzyka Denis Siedem.
Hey, Reynolds predictive history, that dude, man, the Chinese dude, some stuff he says is okay. Most of what stuff he says is he's full of shit. I'll just say that.
Muzyka Denis Siedem.